Baltimore City Council Ways and Means Committee, we're back in session for Council Bill 23-0381, Ordinance of Estimates for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. We're here for Live Baltimore. Ms. Milley, if you can introduce the members of your team, first and last name and position title, and then jump right into your presentation.
Absolutely. Well, good evening, members of the council. Mr. Chair, it's a pleasure to be here today. I am Annie Milley, Live Baltimore's Executive Director, and with me I have Julie French. Julie French is our Director of Operations. She is also our Chief Fiscal Officer, and as I said during the break, much like Ms. Rubens behind her, she is the wearer of many hats, and we are so lucky to have her. Is my presentation starting? Okay. Okay. Well, as you all know, Live Baltimore's name and mission are synonymous. We want more people to live in Baltimore City. We pursue this mission through a variety of programs that attract residents, retain residents, and support healthy housing markets. We take every chance that we have to remind folks that residents are the city's greatest assets and that we can quantify this through the economic benefits that residents deliver to the city. In FY22, more than $1.2 billion of the city's income came from residents' taxes directly, and that is the majority of funding going into the general fund. In addition to that, resident spending annually accounts for over $8 billion with a B dollars into our local economy, and that spending supports over 50,000 local jobs, which are primarily held also by city residents. We look forward to continuing to support the city's attraction and retention of residents in FY24 by launching new creative assets that we have been developing over the past year, and also by delivering outstanding customer service to the thousands of individuals who reach out to us each year to ask us about home buying. Live Baltimore has only one service in the budget, Service 815. And this year's budget will continue funding our service at its current level. I want to mention that we continue to be deeply grateful for the increased funding that we received thanks to Mayor Scott and his administration that took effect this year for FY23. We know that many members of this council have been supportive of that funding, and we are, again, very grateful for that. Thank you. We have been using that funding over the past year, as I mentioned, to develop brand new creative assets, to bring on a new creative agency of record, to be out in the streets filming beautiful testimonial videos with residents of many of your districts. And we have been also enhancing our efforts by adding to our team, adding members of our team, adding to our team's capacity, and also to continuing the excellent work that we've been doing since we resumed in-person events in FY22. I just want to close by saying that, as you all know, Baltimore City has unfortunately been losing population since 1950. Even more unfortunate, we were one of only 4 major cities in the United States to lose population in the 2020 census. However, we believe and we know that we can grow by 2030 with all of us rowing in the same direction. The eager homebuyers and renters that we have the absolute privilege of meeting every single day continue to give us optimism, and the existing legacy residents who are eager to welcome new neighbors continue to give us purpose. And so with that, I will just say that we are very excited to continue exceeding our performance targets in the coming year, and thank you for your time. I look forward to answering any of your questions.
Thank you, Director Milley, and I've joined the meeting.
Hello.
Councilman Conway. Also have had Councilwoman Ramos and Councilman Dorsey join the meeting. Appreciate all the work you guys are doing. Of course, your work is incredibly important toward the greater mission of the city. You know, we want to grow as a city. I was really glad to see Buy Back the Block, especially in my district, and I'm really curious how it will go, and so we'll see. depending on how it pays dividends, is it something that we might think about expanding in the future, or how do we look at it?
Well, I cannot speak to what funding will be available to expand it in the future, but I think we certainly see it as a pilot initiative that can be very instructive in what types of programs might be beneficial to our communities in the future. We are really excited with the early interest that we're seeing in the program, so I anticipate that we will easily use up the funding that we have for this initiative. I think the other thing that's really most exciting to me about this program is all of the data that we're collecting from everyone who is putting in an application or even just putting in an expression of interest. We're learning about which communities might have the most existing renters who are eager to purchase homes in their neighborhoods. We're learning how much rent folks are paying in different communities, just gathering all kinds of information that we wouldn't otherwise have. And then on top of that, we're having the opportunity to actually have a personal touch with each of those people who are expressing interest, so that we're actually, our customer service manager, Chad Race, she's actually having meetings with all of these people. She's learning about them, learning about their situation, and just all of that insight, I think, can only help to enhance our thinking about incentive programs and down payment assistance citywide.
That's great. Just, have we had people apply to the program yet? How many?
Yeah, I have that right in front of me. Sure. So I can say there is a multi-step application process. As this is a program for existing Baltimore City renters, the most important thing that we verify is that these are existing Baltimore City renters. And so the first step in the process is to complete what we're calling our eligibility form. So it's an eligibility quiz, and you can take that easily online. Since March 15th, when that quiz became available online, we have had 538 individuals complete that step. Of those 538 individuals, 126 of those individuals have provided an address that has been within the program eligibility areas, and those individuals have been invited to step 2. Step 2 is actually where we go forward and verify the residency of those individuals. So step 1, we say, just tell us, and then step 2, we say, can you please provide that proof to us? So of those 126 individuals who have been invited to step 2, we have 21 individuals who have been verified. They have given us a copy of their lease or some sort of similar proof of residency. More than half of those have completed a 30-minute appointment with our customer service manager, where she could really speak to them about next steps in the process. 12 applicants have started the process, and we're working with them to obtain documentation that's going to work for us to make them eligible, and then 2 individuals are still in review. So I would say that we are building a great pipeline of interest in the program, and we're seeing interest coming from all of the different eligibility areas. So that's what it's looking like so far. And I'll just add that that is really without a big marketing push from us. Our next step will be to engage in not only community-based events and partnerships with community-based organizations, but also we'll be doing proactive direct mail outreach to those households that are in the eligible areas and that we know are rental households through data that we receive from our partners at DHCD.
That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to
invitations to apply.
Yeah. I'll continue to push it out, certainly to my residents, but really, really excited about the program, and hopefully all goes well. Colleagues, any questions? Councilwoman Ramos, and Dorsey thereafter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, thanks for all you do. I remain concerned that you're not, that we should be putting a lot more money into what you're doing, because it is such an important job. I mean, it is one of the ways that we are going to increase the dollars in our city is to increase our tax base, which means we need people to move here, right? Or to create renters into homeowners. So I think I've made it clear to the mayor's office and to others that this budget cannot look like, actually, I think I said the exact same thing last year. This budget cannot look like this next year, because we have to have that emphasis on making sure that people come in. So I think you and I have had a couple of conversations about this, but I'd be really interested to figure out, much like Visit Baltimore has a funding source that's, 40% of the hotel tax, so they're going to advertise all the areas near the hotels. I would be interested to know, I think you and I talked about some potential, well, one that we've already taken for something else, but what else we should be exploring to be able to have a permanent funding source. Obviously, I know that your budget is bigger than this because you do leverage a lot of resources from other places. But frankly, if we're not making the commitment, I don't know that other people are going to want to make the commitment, right? So, and it's because of your great work that they're making the commitment, but we have to make this commitment to make sure that we are all hands on deck with, growing our population, but also adding, I think, the whole coordination around that too, in terms of there's the marketing side, which is what you do, but there's also the fact that, and we just had this long conversation about reducing vacants, like if we reduce the vacants, we're also bringing in, more tax base, and if we do this, that, the other, we're bringing in more tax base. So that sort of coordinating role as well, and I don't know that you play that role, but somebody should. So just talk a little bit about what your board, what you're thinking about so that we can take it back, because we have to make the commitment. Working with you on this is important.
Thank you. I thank you for the advocacy. I thank you for the support of the work that we do. Of course, we agree that increasing the population is critically important for the city. And I would just say I think that the Scott administration agrees with that as well. We, last year, applied for and received the largest budget enhancement that our organization has ever seen. We applied for the maximum amount that we were allowed through the Department of Finance, and we were able to receive that funding, and we have been, I think, working very hard this year to responsibly manage growth within our organization. We've been very pleased to add staff members this year, which have already greatly enhanced our capacity. We recently hired a creative agency of record, and I've been at Live Baltimore for nearly 10 years, and I can tell you this has been a dream of mine to do so. So our capacity has been enhanced. I think that there is probably endless storytelling to do to truly communicate what a wonderful place Baltimore City is to live. You and I agree and know that people want to live in Baltimore.
That's right.
And we are eager to tell that story, and we are grateful for the resources that we have to do that. In terms of exploring a funding formula, as I shared, it is mentioned in our FY22 to FY26 strategic plan that we might look for opportunities to do so. We have not embarked on any really serious look into that. And I think I would look to hear what the administration and others wanted us to do and before we pursue any of those opportunities.
Oh, sure. You certainly don't want to grow too fast where you can't keep it sustainable. I understand.
Yeah.
But we can put a lot more marketing dollars out there too, so to really do that. So, and you had mentioned that you just hired a creative. So, is it or a consultant? Are you going to be launching a new campaign?
We will be launching a new campaign. We are so excited. Not only have we had the opportunity to continue to commission absolutely beautiful photography of all of our residential communities year after year. We're doing that again this year. We have a photographer out in the field right now. We hosted an open casting call for residents who wanted to tell the stories of their neighborhoods.
Yes.
Oh, it was wonderful. We received over 100 submissions. We narrowed that down to 20 in-depth interviews, and we just filmed with 5 people that have amazing stories to tell. I can't wait for everybody to see those. And we'll be launching a new creative campaign in FY24. And what we'll be doing with our budget to responsibly use the funding that we have is this year we used that funding to develop the creative assets. Next year we'll be transitioning that funding to go into a media plan that's going to be, pushing those assets out and getting them in front of prospective movers. And I think we're really eager to see what that does in terms of driving traffic to our website, driving people to our events, just driving interest in city living in general. So, thank you.
I have another question, but I'll pass it along.
Thank you, Councilman Dorsey.
probably me. I'm just trouble. Mostly here so that Annie doesn't think I'm a bad representative.
It was good to see you at my block party this weekend.
I had the privilege of spending most of my day on Saturday at Annie's neighborhood block party, the oldest continuously and first established neighborhood improvement association in Baltimore City, the Arcadia Improvement Association, which will celebrate its centennial this year, this September. And unfortunately, I will be out of town when that is happening at the local Progress convening in St. Louis. But I'll be sending a resolution and my staff, you can bet. That is really mostly why I'm here, just so Annie doesn't think I'm a bad representative. And to say, you know, I love my Live Baltimore swag. I don't use lanyards, but I do have my Live Baltimore keychain that I picked up at the Ballard Spar opening, I think,
yes.
As my spare house keychain. I'm reminded of the importance of Live Baltimore every time I go for a run. I do have one question, I guess. I would love to get together with your board president if you could help set that up. You and I have had some conversations about zoning policy, and I know that it is the board's position not to take a position on matters of zoning. And while I understand wanting to stay out of individual cases, and the way that we very unfortunately as a city politicize case-by-case zoning, which we should not do and other cities don't do, we do have some pretty significant structural barriers to population growth and the desegregation of communities that are the result of zoning, and that I think impede our ability to do the things that we want Live Baltimore to help us to do. And so I'd love to have the opportunity to discuss zoning policy and things with your board president. If you could help set that up, please.
I will absolutely set that up. Yes, we have an incoming board president, so we're in a transitional period right now. Unfortunately, our current board president just reached her 10-year term limit on our board, and so she will be leaving us, and we will be welcoming a new board president who will be taking office effective July 1. So she's been on our board, Kate Williams, who's been on our board for quite some time now, and so she would be glad to meet with you, as I'm sure would many other members of our board. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ramos.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one last question about the fact that you did mention in your presentation that I walked in on around, new people moving into the city, our new Americans, people who are coming here for a better opportunity. So I'm hoping that you actually have staff that speak Spanish.
We did, and unfortunately, we do not at this moment. We have, well, a little bit of Spanish, but not quality Spanish. We did have a staff person who was fluent in Spanish, and we miss having her. So we are currently in the process of investigating new partners that we can engage to enhance our efforts in not just Spanish, but in other languages as well, because we know that new Americans are such an important part of the fabric of our neighborhoods, our potential for growth, and now that we have some different immigration policies, hopefully we can see more growth than we saw in the past 4 years.
Well, I think you did have an event with Southeast CDC recently, right?
So Southeast CDC does an amazing job with their Viva Baltimore program, which actually is not, that's actually their event, so I don't want to take anything away from Southeast CDC. Right. I mean, they are the partner that we turn to anytime, we're looking to learn more about the immigrant community, where we're looking to provide additional resources, of course, counseling resources, when we're looking to make referrals and recommendations to Spanish-speaking real estate professionals. They have many services, and we engage them as a robust partner in that work. I think that, we want to continue to expand our outreach to communities where English is not their first language. I think we also want to be respectful of what are they asking us to do and what are we needed for. And so I think we want to be invited in and as well as push out information about opportunities to live here. And I think when we do that, we'll want to work in partnership with those organizations that are trusted, community-based, like Southeast CDC and others.
Well, I mean, we do have high renters that are in the immigrant community, and
Yes.
that I think is a opportunity for the Buy Back the Black program and other, because frankly, they're not living in great situations, which again, we just had a conversation about. So I want to be able to provide the opportunity for, being, and we have, it's not just Southeast CDC, we have Latinos all over the city, whether they're immigrant or not, we have, Latinos all over the city, so, which is a good thing, I think, so.
It's a great thing.
Yeah.
Yes, we agree. We agree. I mean, LEDC is an approved counseling agency as well.
LADC is great, yeah.
Yes, and, they were at our last trolley tour. So, these are organizations that we value and partner with and are always eager to do more with.
Yeah, so you have all of your graphics and stuff translated then, right? 'Cause I don't-
We are in the process of making all of that happen. We have, right now, a request out for partners to make sure that that is all getting done.
Okay, I can get you somebody who will do
Okay,
that.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, that way we know all the graphics and stuff are in both.
Yeah, I know,
languages.
I know who Southeast CDC uses for their marketing efforts. They have a marketing partner that they worked with for a long time, and so on their radar as well, and absolutely a priority.
Thank you. I was curious, I was reading an article, I think in a banner a couple of weeks ago, about families leaving the city, specifically black families leaving the city. And it made me think a little bit about what steps we can take to keep those black families here. And even more, keeping families here. As we know, once young couples have children, they start to begin to look for new homes. And as much as possible, we want those folks to stay here in the city. I'm curious how you and your team have thought about appealing to those families and some of the major factors that weigh on their decision to either stay in the city and move into a different neighborhood or leave the city altogether.
Yeah, that's a great question. I know we both have children in the city, and we can speak to what an absolutely wonderful opportunity it is to raise children in Baltimore. So we have a resident retention program, and that resident retention program is specifically focused on residents with children. I had the pleasure of coming to Live Baltimore in large part to start that program, so we began that program in 2013 and launched that program in earnest in 2015. The three tenets of that program are schools, space, and support. We did a lot of research when we were in development of the program and have continued to receive continuous feedback from those families that we're working with. And what we hear, as you said, families, they might run out of space. So they might be living in a row home and they might only have 1 or 2 bedrooms and they want to move up, and they need to know that there are opportunities to do that into your neighborhood or my neighborhood or many other neighborhoods that have larger homes. So that's important, and that's part of the work. We know that people stay because they have friends here, and so while we aren't doing that sort of direct support family organizing work, we make it our business to know about all of the groups that are, so that we can really proactively connect people to those support networks. And so that's the support piece and an important part. And then finally, schools. So, we have in Baltimore City a more complex education system than any of our surrounding counties. And that choice is something that people like choice, people want choice. But what we know is that choice without any assistance in really making a good choice can be not a positive, right? So you really need it to be, you need to feel like you have an understanding of your choices in order to make a good choice and in order for that to be a benefit. And so we focus on sharing information with residents who are either considering having children or who have young children or who have school-age children and just still are seeking resources to understand what are the public school options, what are the zone school options, what are the charter school options, what are the parochial school options, what are the private school options. We're the only organization that makes it our business to be an expert in all of those different education options, and I would say, homeschooling as well. I mean, there's a variety of families living in a variety of different ways, and so we want to honor all of those choices. And so we host info sessions about what those school options are. We have a school guide that helps walk families through, okay, my child is approaching, this age, where should I be in the process? We created a comprehensive school timeline that looks at, again, what is the timeline for applying to a charter school, to a zone school, to a parochial school, to a private school. We have all of that in one place. Those things are available as printed guides that we distribute through a variety of different avenues, also online. And not only are we proactively working to connect those resources directly with residents, but we're also working to spread the word through the real estate community. So what we know from research is that real estate agents are the most influential folks in people's decisions about where to buy, where to live, where to move next. And so it's really important to us that our real estate community understands there are laws that say what they can and cannot say about schools. And so what we want them to know is that we are a resource, and that if they don't answer a question that you don't know the answer to, just say, I don't know, and send folks our way, because we would be happy to guide anyone through their thinking about how they can, their family can grow here in the city. So it's a critical part of the work that we do. It's obviously something I'm passionate about, and it's something that, I think our whole team is passionate about and understands is an important part of our work.
I really appreciate that, particularly because I know I and my office have gotten a number of questions about how to navigate the school system, and I don't have all the answers myself. So certainly I will be sending people your way
Yeah.
so that folks can have a better sense of how to navigate what decision they want to make for their family. But yeah, I really appreciate that and look forward to following up with you about it.
Yeah, we have all kinds of materials we'd love to share, so please do.
Yeah, thank you. Councilwoman, anything else? Thank you. We are in recess.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.